This is a camera test between the Xiaomi Mi 9 and the iPhone 10, and we're going to throw in a Canon just to see what the results should look like on a DSLR camera versus two smartphones. So let's start with the Xiaomi Mi 9 and let's just see what the audio is like on the Xiaomi Mi 9. Actually, what I can see on the screen looks pretty good. It looks exposed really well. You can see up here, this is the sky. It's pretty bright, so that's probably a bit overexposed. You can't really see much detail there. But actually the lake looks really nice. The flowers in the background look really good as well. I would say that compared to the iPhone, it looks a little bit bright, a little bit brighter than the iPhone. Maybe the greens are not as vibrant as the iPhone, but what we see on the screen and what we see on the actual video when we get it into the editing room is very different. So actually I would say that the video coming out of the Mi 9 right at the moment, it looks really good. I don't know what the audio is like until we see it in the studio. So let's go to the iPhone. Now what I can see on the iPhone, colors look a lot darker. It looks a lot more underexposed than the Mi 9. Not necessarily underexposed, it just looks a bit darker than the Mi 9. That's on the screens. What happens on the screens and what happens actually on the video are two different things. The greens look way more vibrant than the Mi 9. The colors just look completely different actually. I'd say the Mi 9 is looking a bit cooler than the iPhone. Just look at my skin tones as well. Now obviously on the Mi 9 it probably brightens up my skin tones because it's a Chinese phone and it likes to do that, whereas the iPhone would be more natural or more normal for my skin tones anyway. Actually the video out of both of them looks really good to me on the screens anyway. Maybe you can compare that to the Canon. Now the audio on the Canon is coming straight out of the camera. I don't have any microphones on the Canon. I don't have a lapel microphone. All the audio is coming straight out of each of the devices. I wouldn't say that the Mi 9 or the iPhone looks better than the other one, but it's just different colors. Which one you prefer is going to be up to you. Maybe we can have a little wander around and just see what the stabilization is like on both of these cameras when we're walking around. There's no optical image stabilization on any of these cameras. Let's just go up the stairs. Now the selfie cameras aren't going to be stabilized, but the processors might do a little bit of that. I can see the Mi 9 actually looks really good on the screen, and so does the iPhone. So we're just going to have to see when we get the footage into the studio which one does a better job of stabilizing the images. Have a look at the selfie I took on both of these. iPhone on the left, Mi 9 on the right. I prefer the iPhone personally. Look how wide I am. The Mi 9 makes me look like a ghost. It just makes me look so wide. Also in the background, those buildings are really blown out, whereas on the iPhone, it retains a lot of the detail in the photograph. I just personally prefer the iPhone. Have a look at the wider angle on the Mi 9. The wider angle gets way more in the shot than the iPhone selfie camera. The iPhone has a dual camera setup, a main sensor and a telephoto 2x optical zoom sensor. Both of those are 12 megapixels and both have optical image stabilization. The Xiaomi has a triple camera setup. The main sensor is 48 megapixels, the telephoto 2x optical zoom camera is 12 megapixels, and the Xiaomi adds a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera, something that the iPhone doesn't have. None of the cameras on the Xiaomi have optical image stabilization. Both phones do 4K video and slow-mo. Moving on to the back cameras, it's a different story. I actually really like the Mi 9 here. I think it's offering a really rich picture in video and it looks really good. Something that you don't get with the Mi 9 is optical zoom with video. The iPhone has 2x optical zoom with video and you can go up to 6x zoom. The Mi 9 does 10x zoom. I've zoomed in 6x here to make it fair, and I think the iPhone is keeping so much detail here. The Mi 9 looks very noisy and it looks like it's given up a lot of detail. Comparing the iPhone to the Mi 9 and the Mi 9 48 megapixel mode, three really great images. Does 48 megapixel mode really have any difference? Yes, it does. Look at the Mi 9 on the left and the 48 megapixel mode on the right. You can see a lot more detail is kept in the 48 megapixel mode as opposed to the normal mode. However, when you just look at a picture normally, you can't really see much difference between them. Moving on to this tire and zooming in really close, all three cameras keep a lot of detail. Let's do an A/B test. Again, the colors are different in the photos. Decide which one you prefer before seeing the names of the phones. And there it is, Mi 9 on the left, iPhone on the right. Which one do you prefer? Is it A or B? Is it the Mi 9 or the iPhone? There you have it, Mi 9 on the left, iPhone on the right. This is a video HDR test. If you look at the bottom right hand corner, as the bus passes, the bottom right becomes very light and the background becomes overblown. As the bus passes and the light normalizes, both phones do a really good job of taking that background and exposing it properly again. Both phones, to my eye, are doing exactly the same job. How is focusing on both of these cameras in video? This is the iPhone shooting the Mi 9. Doing a really good job. It's really quick, it's really snappy, no problems. I had a few problems with the Mi 9 focusing on the iPhone though. If you just take a look at some of these, it does a good job sometimes, but no, it's not in focus, it's not in focus. Is it? There it is, it's just in focus there. It took a long time there. That time was no problem, actually that was fine. Let's just test it again, yeah, no problem. No, it's trying to focus, it's racking focus back and forward all the time. Look how I just changed the angle of the phone and it changes the focus. I'm not really sure why it's doing that. All right, let's test the stabilization of both of these cameras. Let's just go down the stairs and see which one looks better on the screen. Actually, they both look really good. The Xiaomi looks like it's on some sort of gimbal. It looks so completely level. The iPhone actually on the screen looks a little bit shaky, but the way that they process the videos after you've taken them definitely is different. So just have a listen to the audio on both of these phones. I have no idea what the audio is like. It's really, really silent out here. Obviously, we're just down by the river. Maybe you can see how each of them deals with different light, because we've gone from a really, really bright light area into a really, really dark area. So you can see which one keeps the most detail. If you look ahead, obviously it's really bright out there, so it's probably really overexposed and you can't see much detail in there. And it'll be interesting to see when we go into the light to see which one changes first and which one brings in the most detail out of both of these. I would say on the screen, actually the Xiaomi looks brighter than the iPhone, but that may just be automatic screen brightness on there. Really don't know how they deal with it. So we've come out into the brightness, and again the Xiaomi looks so level. It'll be interesting to see when I get that in the studio and get that in the computer, just to see how level it actually is. I'm just holding these both on essentially just like a metal plank and they're bolted to it. I'm just walking along, I'm trying to be as stable as I can, but they both look really good actually. And I would say the colors of the Xiaomi definitely look more poppy, more bright and more vibrant than the iPhone on the screen. Now obviously the screens are different, so I really don't know how the actual video is going to turn out, but they both look really good. If you look at the sky, they both keep a lot of detail in the sky. On the screen anyway, what I can see is a lot of darker clouds mixed in with the brighter clouds. They look really good. There's a bit of wind coming, so maybe depending on where the microphones are placed, you may get different wind noise depending. And I'm just literally about 20 centimeters away from the phone talking into them. So depending on which one does good audio. Now the iPhone had really bad audio when I tested that against the Redmi Note 7. So I want to see which one has better audio out of these two, the Xiaomi or the iPhone. All right, let's just go back up the stairs to see if going upstairs is any different to going downstairs. All right, let's shake these about and see which one looks better. Wow, that Xiaomi, honestly, on the screen, it looks like it's not even moving. It's absolutely crazy. Whereas the iPhone does look a little bit shaky. But after the videos are processed, that's when we can find out which one really looks the best. But if you're just going by what they look like on the screen, that Xiaomi looks really, really decent. Both phones have a really cool slow-mo feature. This is the iPhone doing 240 frames a second and it looks really cool. It also keeps a lot of detail. This is 1080p video at 240 frames a second. The Xiaomi Mi 9 has 960 frames a second. That is super slow, but it does lose a little bit of detail. The clarity goes down a bit, but just look how much the Mi 9 is slower than the iPhone. You can only do that in a really short burst though. The screen is such a big factor when you look at photos. This is exactly the same image. This was taken on the Xiaomi Mi 9, but I'm viewing the same image on both phones. It doesn't look the same, it looks completely different. The screen has a massive effect on how you look at images and how images are reproduced to your eye. This was shot on the iPhone, viewed on both. Again, it's not the same. The colors are different on both phones. The screen is such a big influential factor on how you see the images, because that's where you will be looking at them most of the time. 1080p iPhone video versus 4K Mi 9 video versus the Canon M6 1080p video. Colors are different for sure. Is there any difference in clarity? Let's zoom right in on that saddle. I would say the middle one is clearer. The one on the right has a lot of noise. The one on the left is in the middle somewhere. Yeah, the Mi 9 4K video is much clearer than the Canon M6 doing 1080p. You can see a lot of noise on the Canon M6 there. The Mi 9 is looking much sharper than the other two, and it should do because it's 4K video. Who does portrait mode the best, left or right? The left is the iPhone. I think that's probably better here. It's a little bit more blurry. So what do you get out of these camera apps? Now, look at the photo on both of these. You get the 1x or 2x zoom in the middle. On the Mi 9, you get ultra wide mode as well, which you don't get on the iPhone. You can see 1x or 2x zoom in the middle on both of these. The Mi 9 giving that ultra wide. That is a feature that you just don't have with the iPhone, so it definitely gives you a little bit more in terms of the type of images that you can take. Let's go through to video though. Notice that on the iPhone you keep the 1 and 2x zoom. You can zoom in 1 and 2x optically. On the Mi 9 you can only use the ultra wide camera and then go back to the normal camera. There is no zoom in on the Mi 9. You have to use digital zoom there. If you go to 48 megapixel mode, there's no optical zoom whatsoever. If you look on the iPhone going through photo and video, you keep the same zoom. It's something to be aware of because when you are zooming in and out, optical zoom preserves a lot more clarity over digital zoom. I would say that today the iPhone camera app has been a bit smoother than the Xiaomi's. The Xiaomi's had a couple of issues going through different modes, and also, hello mate, I'm recording myself, not you. Yeah, the Xiaomi had a little bit of trouble going through the app sometimes, and also one of the times it said the camera couldn't connect to the app. So I had to actually like close the phone or close the screen and open it again, and it was all right, but it was slightly strange. So yeah, look, the iPhone is so much more expensive and you expect it to work really well all the time. And I guess the Xiaomi has some little bugs and things in some places, but there is a big price difference between them. All in all, using the phones, there isn't that much of a difference. Actually, the Xiaomi gives you a lot more modes than the iPhone. You get that 4K video recording, you get the 48 megapixel mode, which is just nice to have sometimes if you want to just try it out and do different things.